You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents Pet Psychic Aminah. I am your host and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I am a certified life, career, yoga, and meditation coach. Let me bring on my co-star, my co-host, my partner, Aminah. Welcome.
Partner in crime. Here we go. We're going to educate people. It's a criminal offense, I know.
This is always a fun show, isn't it?
I love it. I love it. I mean, those of us who love to talk, we're kind of born to talk. And I hope what we do is we share that passion. We share that passion with everybody who walks by this show, gets part of the energy of this show, because we're sending out lots of love for both of us.
We sure are. Aminah, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So as you can see behind me, Pet Psychic is one of my top titles, but I have been a public speaker since literally my first I was 9. I come from a lot of people that are project managers and have done a lot of that, from also landscaping management and that type of stuff. So nature, animals, organic feelings. I now know that I'm an empath. Why didn't I know that? I don't spend much time in my early years with psychics. So who you're going to meet today is just so exciting, because when I found out from my spirit guide that I needed to go public, it was like, uh-oh, what do I do? How do I do it? How do I stay real and genuine? Listen to last week's thing and you'll hear my entire origin story. So we're going to hear from Doti Boon, and this organization that I'm going to let her explain all about it is really where I found that grounding and found a place to ask people questions. Do I agree with everybody? No, we all do it differently. Dr. Jacalyn probably runs her show her way that organically meets, and then you'll get your audience. So for me, being a psychic is a growing event every day. When somebody told me I needed a guide to help me through this path, and I went, okay, you're talking about a spirit guide. Well, what do? Go down to the grocery store and buy one off the shelf? I went to the library. I looked at all the books and I went, I don't know anything about this kind of psychic, that kind of psychic. This is where you grow. This is where you get accepted. And this is why having Doti and all these people that I've met from the Center for Creative Living in San Jose specifically, now we're all digital, so we can go everywhere, has been my growth and my support. When I have something, and we're going to talk about that, I got accosted by a dead person, because that's part of my gift also, and I needed her help immediately, because no one should be able to take over. I don't care if it's your next door neighbor beating on your wall or somebody, spiritually. This is all so new for me. Literally 5-7 years of doing this publicly. I know what I know, but I always equate it to this. Somebody would ask me, what's it like to be blonde? Or a white person. I went, I don't know how to answer that. I don't know any different. I have always been this. So I have always heard animals. I have always heard the plants. I just kept it to myself, except for with my children. And they grew up with quirky me.
That's a great story. And by the way, to your earlier point, I hope people, if they missed last week and hearing your whole story, please go to YouTube, Dr. Jacalyn LLC, and make sure that you watch that program, because it was filled with good information. Before we bring Doti on, I just want to encourage people. We love to hear from you, right, Aminah?
Absolutely. Questions. If we can't answer them, we'll try. We'll at least get in most of it. And it's just so engaging to hear where you like us to take the talk. We don't have a script. I love the free flow. I think, Jacalyn, you do the same thing. We go organically. I know Doti really well. So she's like, what are we going to talk about? I said, you. me. And she's like, okay. So we can do this. But please, if you'd like to ask us a question to go a different direction, yay, then that's where we should be going.
If you're in Radio Land, you can call in at 609-961-1699. And if you're in social media, you can also call in, but you can contact us through any of the social media platforms. So without further ado, let's bring Doti from California. Doti Boon, welcome to the program.
Thank you so very much. I'm excited about being here this morning. It's morning here.
Well, we just passed noon. So yes.
Well, it depends on how long you sleep in, you know.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
That's true.
You talk to too many people overseas, and then we're up at all kinds of hours, and they're like, I need to talk to you at 9 a.m. You mean 7 in the morning for me, or 2 in the afternoon? So
and then I talk to China, and it's a different day.
No.
Exactly.
I said this on an earlier show, but what I found is that people outside the United States, at least on my platform, they're more than happy to be interviewed at 2:00 in the morning or at midnight. I mean, I just did it last week twice. I thought it's amazing to me because I'm not getting up at 2 in the morning.
We all have our limits. There's a limit to everything. Well, and Doti and I are so fortunate that we have our tribe, if you want to call it, and they don't sleep. And Doti knows what I'm talking about. My guide, his name is Gabriel, and whenever I just even have a wisp of a thought, he's like, yes. And I'm like, it's so neat having a friend, because you have to remember, I didn't always have that. And it just happened one day, and you feel not alone. You feel that presence of love and acceptance and, free will. There's no guide that says, oh, no, you got to walk on the left side all the time. What? That might not work if there's a big old hole because somebody's working on the road, that kind of stuff. So what I love is just the community. And what I'd like you to start out, Doti, and of course, if this is okay with you, I want it to be organic, is talk about that you're a minister and what that means as a psychic and a minister, because I know you don't do any specific faith. I'm actually Muslim, and so she has Christians and Jewish and that. And I would love to hear everybody to hear about, now CCL's online, so you literally can be from Australia.
Right, exactly.
So tell us about CCL.
Okay. Well, as Aminah was saying, I was raised in so many different religions. I've been baptized Catholic, I was baptized Methodist, I was baptized Episcopalian, and my folks became Baha'is. And then my mom remarried a man who was Jewish. And so I grew up with all of these wonderful, beautiful people of every different faith. And so when I became a minister, I wanted to have a multi-faith church. And what that means is we celebrate. We celebrated Purim last week, and this week we're celebrating the goddess and also St. Patrick on the same day at church. And then we're going to be going into other things and end of the month with Passover, and then start the next month with Easter. So that's a type of church I have based on where I came from, that I don't see people as just one thing. I see us all as everything. And that works very well. We have a very great congregation. And as Aminah was saying, we have people from every different religion. We have a lady who is Zoroastrian. We have people who are Sikh. We have people who are raised Catholic. We have so many different religions that come together. And what we talk about is the Creator. And sometimes we might even say Mother, Father, God for our congregation that follows the goddess path. So there's so many areas there that whatever you are, my favorite story is I had this gentleman come in one day and he said, oh, I'm an atheist. And I said, good. We don't have one of those. I'm excited about having an atheist. And so then a little while later he said, I think I'm really an agnostic. And I said, oh, darn, we have loads of those. Most of the people to our church is that. Yeah, but everybody is certainly welcome, no matter where you come from. we also have a pretty large LGBT following because we have people there who were lost. They didn't know what to believe because they were raised by parents who were very strict, one religion or another, and that religion says that they weren't okay, that they weren't children of God. And so, of course, I said, come on in. And so we have every kind of person that you could believe in. It exists from every end of the world, I feel like. Every corner of the world we have. And we have a large group that speaks Spanish. So we'll be doing service and somebody might be translating in one of the corners of the room. So for me, that's what the Center for Creative Living is how you create your life.
And they actually practice that. I walked in, and I don't know if Dottie remembers this, but my first day embezzled in my mind in one way. You get greeted. It's a very intimate place, so it's not ginormous. You walk into the big cathedral and go, "Oh, I can slip in the back way, and they'll never see us." No, everybody's very, very cordial and very friendly and that kind of stuff. So I walked in and all by myself, didn't know anybody, just found them online, I think on Meetup. And they greeted me, "Hi, welcome, glad you're here. Here's a brochure, for today. And by the way, are you any faith?" And I said, "Oh, I'm Muslim." And Dottie said exactly that. "Oh, we don't have any of those. That's great." And they're like, "Well, that's the first I've gotten that one." It's like, "Oh, I brought the party with me. Here we go." Well, and what happened in practice, and Dottie can elaborate or correct, of course, but my experience then was every Ramadan, which is the month of fasting, they would ask me to speak and that kind of stuff. They really try to get people who are in that faith to talk about that event. So there have just the roundness of not the same, yes, Dottie's the pastor, but you've got how many? 20 pastors, 70 pastors, 100 pastors. She trains them like I won't say puppies, but for me that's a good thing. Maybe for them.
I train ministers.
Yes.
We from our parent church, the Universal Church of the Master. What we do is we ordain ministers, and because we feel that each person has their own ministry. So it doesn't make any difference where you come from. You have a ministry or you wouldn't be here on this planet.
Right. Reverend Dottie, I think that's beautiful. What does that process look like to be ordained?
Oh, I give you a lot of work. I give you books to read. I give you works to do. I give you a platform so you can become a public speaker, so you know how to give sermons. I also teach classes in counseling so that you become very good at grief counseling for people. And of course, I train you on how to do weddings and funerals and baptisms and that type of thing. And the first year is a licentiate, which means you're learning basics. And then the second year is more learning how to become ordained. And so it's something that's a 2-year program. It's not that expensive. And if you want more information, you can reach out to me because I'm a sponsor, which means I help people become ministers. And it's amazing these days that people, when you say you're a reverend, they look at you a little bit askance until you say, "And I believe that all people are children of God or the Creator, and I think you're wonderful." Whatever that is, people are needing to feel valued. Through so much that we've been through, especially with the pandemic, a lot of people feel lost. And so that's one thing that you always hear about ministers doing, is helping you back on the path. And for us, our path is about love, support, guidance, and appreciation of everyone.
Absolutely.
Wow, I think
you can hear that. And that's what I was walking into, because I had walked away from, many religious institutions and the change and that kind of stuff. And people say, my family wasn't very religious. My siblings were. And so going to Christian churches and stuff, I'm really lucky. We camped. My dad was a teacher, so we traveled the United States 5 times. 5 times. I got Alaska and Hawaii in there too. But driving to Alaska was a little bit much. Couldn't drive to Hawaii. Had to take a plane. But in that way, my siblings and I would just go to whatever church was near. And so it opened me up for the experience I was going to have at Doti's church of just everybody was there, everybody of every faith and every color and every creed, and married to whoever they loved. And it was so eye-opening, and it was a point of where my life was and that kind of stuff. So anyways, if you're looking for a home, and the neat part is wherever you are, it's all digital and that kind of stuff. And it is usually put up. Even then, I think, Doti, you can correct me, it was always recorded. And then Corky would always post it up afterwards, even when we were just doing live and that type of stuff. So everybody, because there's a lot of people that can't physically make it to church. They no longer drive, or they're not well enough for whatever reason. So that has always been something that's been offered. I love that when I was working and sometimes working on Sundays. So that was really neat. But Doti, I want to switch it up and talk about your amazing psychic abilities and gift. And I know how you've helped me and that type of stuff. And I'm gonna give people just a tidbit, and then she's gonna back into what she does. We need to take a break. Commercial. First. I didn't look at the clock. Commercial. Good timing. Break. We are gonna come back with stories. Please join us and put your questions in the comments.
All right, we'll be right back on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn.
Hey everybody, my name is Ralph Graves Jr. I'm the host of the Ralph Graves Jr. Show, and I want to invite you to pick up my book, Unstoppable. I wrote a book called Unstoppable. It's 7 universal laws that will transform how you pursue and achieve success. The one thing that my 20 years of law enforcement has taught me is that no matter who you are, we are all governed by universal laws, like gravity. But in this book, we're going to talk about laws like the law of forgiveness, laws like the law of control, the law of intelligent practice, the law of expectancy. I was able to see how those, no matter what their background was, those who identified and treated these laws with respect, they were able to go on and lead successful lives. So pick up this book, and you can go ahead and pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RalphGravesJr.com, where anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our Ministry Alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategy that will change cities and nations.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Academy Sedan and Limo is a full-service transportation company serving the Philadelphia metropolitan area with full knowledge of the New York City, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. areas. We pride ourselves on being the most dependable, conscientious company in the industry. Our always on-time service and dependable pricing make us the company to call for any event or occasion. Our vehicles can accommodate any size party for any occasion. Our vehicles range from four-door sedans to SUVs to minivans to limo buses to full-size tour buses and can accommodate groups of 2 to 100. We offer airport shuttle service or over-the-road service without limitation regarding mileage or time, and no drive is too long or too far. So if you find yourself in need of transportation of any type with any vehicle, give us a call at 610-842-4564 and let us show you what a real transportation company can do for you.
Use code ACADEMY2020 to receive 20% off your first 3 rides, including parking and tolls.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
This is the only place to be on Friday afternoons. It's Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents Pet Psychic Aminah, and we are live streaming on Business Talk Radio and social media, and our guest is Reverend Doti Boon. Welcome back.
Thank you, everybody, thank you, Jacalyn, so much for letting us have this wonderful time to just kind of expand everybody's thinking. I know I never thought of it. It never occurred to me until it happened to me. And that's kind of what I would like to talk about is where we started and when she found out, and, you know, kind of the mini, because you've had a breadth of experience. How did you know you were psychic? How did you know you knew things? I mean, yours started pretty young, as far as I remember.
I was 5 years old, and I was sitting in my playhouse in a little town called Lancaster, California, on the desert. And all of a sudden, a man appeared, and he was all dressed in white. And he had, it was during the Second World War. I'm an old broad. And so he appeared there, and he had what I thought was a huge bandage on his head. And he was all dressed in white, and he talked to me. And he was a little shimmery, but everything on the desert tends to be a little shimmery or a little bit wavery. And so he talked, and then he left. And I ran in and told my grandmother, who was an invalid in the house, and I said, "Grandma, this man came and talked to me." And she said, "That's nice, dear." And I said, "Yeah, and you could kind of see through him." And she goes, "That's nice, dear." Well, that's been happening my entire life. When I mentioned this spirit, and people always said, "That's nice." Nobody said you're crazy or stupid or you shouldn't do that. Well, I found out that his name was Mahalaleel, and I started calling him Ma. You can imagine at 5 years old, Mahalaleel is it's kind of difficult now even. And so I've been calling him Ma ever since. I thought everybody had a Ma. And after the work I've been doing with people, especially people who feel like maybe they're going crazy or something wrong with them because they hear a voice in their head, I talk to them and I realize just about everybody has a voice. The difference is mine is male. So when I have a man talking to me in my head, I stop and listen and go, "That's Ma." A lot of people, they are identified as female and the voice in their head is female. So they always think they're just talking to themselves. For me, it was different from the time I was 5, because after I saw Ma the first time, he mainly then became the voice I heard in my head. He is there for me and has been there all my life. I've made some wonderful decisions based on what Ma has to say. And when people come to me and they say, "I don't know what's wrong," or "something's going on, but I have this voice," the first thing I do is talk to them about what's it saying. If there's a voice saying something negative, I then say, well, maybe you'll go into some kind of counseling, or let's work with what is this negative voice. But when it's a positive voice telling them how wonderful they are, how great they are, you know that this is a spiritual energy, a spiritual guide coming through. And that spiritual energy is what I use when I do readings.
And it's just amazing, you know, Dr. Jacalyn, if you ever get ever even close to, I can't imagine what it's like now, because there's so much chatter some days. And what Doti has taught me and other psychics that I've surrounded myself with is that I can say no. that we do have free will, that I do have control over it, that there is a limit to going, no. And I have been visited by people that I don't want anything to do with, and they know I don't know all the rules and that. And that was the one story. This happened just a few months ago, and 6 months ago, and I called up Dottie and I was like, Dottie, I'm being haunted by this dead woman. She will not go away. And I don't have enough skills yet. I feel that I've got 20 years just to catch up to Dottie as a teenager and that kind of stuff. So you go to the source, you go to somebody who can really counsel you and help you. And this woman and I were friends years ago when our children were in middle school or younger, and we had a falling out. And it was pretty severe. Everything was cut off and that type of stuff. So now that she had passed, she knew I could talk to people, and her daughter was getting married, and here we're in a pandemic. So she wants me to go and tell her daughter everything she wants her to do for her wedding. This is a woman I haven't spoken to in 20 years because the things she does. And I'm like, Dottie, how do I get rid of her? She's following me around the kitchen. She's following me around the house. She won't leave. I've said, leave. I don't want to talk to you. I have free will. Leave. So Dottie was able to give me skills and absolute shutdowns of saying, no, you don't have the right to commandeer me. I am not your mouthpiece. I'm not your tool. Whatever all those positive words that she gave that I don't remember. But, she saved my mental acuity and put power back in my hands to say that I have the right. Now, the difference with my father is I want him to talk to me every day, all the time and everything. And it took my dad a little while to go, what is going on? Because it wasn't a part of his world, but he is in that world. And it's so neat because I take a flash of thought of him, and he is near me, and he is that gentle hold and soul and energy. And it's just magical. It's just magical. I've never, even as a really, really small child, was never afraid of like the boogeyman or the guy around the corner or anything. I was always talking to strangers all the time. And I think it was because that was my trajectory that I was used to. Oh, it's a little different. It's a little weird. I'm talking to plants and spiders. People catching me talking to animals all the time, especially the spiders. My kids think I'm so weird because I carry them out of the house. We keep the old silo cup from Christmas, and you go, no, just, not over the toilet, Bob, because my girls would always say when they're little, so who's hit this one? Oh, that's Frank. That one's Henry. That one's Bob.
You help them take a little trip. They're going on
there's no bugs in our house, luckily. And I'm like, they'll starve. And my girls are like, really? You're so strange. And now I belong to a spider Facebook page. I am in heaven.
All right. On that note.
Got to have some quirky, because Dottie's got it too. And she's got some amazing stories to share with us.
I have a question for Dottie. So the program that you have where you help people become ordained, is that available online?
It's you can call me and we can put you online. Yes.
It's fabulous.
And we can do that because especially with this pandemic, that's the way we've had to work with it. Okay. And one of the things that I did this week that I thought was very interesting, a woman called me and she said, a friend of mine's dying. But she doesn't want to let go. She's really scared. What do I tell her? And I said, don't tell her anything. Just change the atmosphere and the energy in the room. Because where she's going, it's going to be an energy feel. You don't see the energy. You're going to feel it. So she put on Pandora, some real ambient music, shut the lights down in her hospital room, and got it real quiet and real calm and said, now this is what it's going to be like where you're going. And you can let go. And she called me the next day and she said just 2 hours after she did that, the woman made her transition. And so it's that type of thing that you do where you combine being a minister or being a psychic, being all of those things that you do is to help people be able to help other people and also to help themselves. The whole idea that we are absolutely perfect the way we are is something that when you tell somebody that, they say, oh, I'm not, I was raised X, and they don't think I'm perfect. I've talked to some beautiful young men who say, no, I'm not perfect. I'm gay. And I was raised by, a certain religion that says that we're no good. And so then I do a lot of counseling also based on their psychic energy and how I can work with that.
Thank you for everything that you're doing to help people realize that. I hear myself twice. Do you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we do.
For people to realize that everyone's welcome, that it's, everyone is a gift. Everyone is a masterpiece. And it's great to know that there's a place that they can go and feel welcome. So thank you for that.
Oh,
before we go to commercial, Dr. Jacalyn, just what you said, everyone is a masterpiece. If you take anything away from, I know my Fridays, and I think with Dottie of the life she's led and she's leading now, is everyone is a masterpiece.
Exactly. That's very difficult to keep thinking during this pandemic. So many people are thinking of how they're no good. And what do you mean you're no good? Just because you can't do X, do something that makes you feel better about who you are.
Exactly.
And listen to that voice. Listen to that voice in your head. Okay. And as I said, quite often people think that it's not a spirit because it sounds like they're talking to themselves. So what I tell them I said, give them an Irish accent. Tell your spirit to have an accent so that you'll know it's not you thinking. And it works. It's amazing.
That's fantastic. I can't wait to hear more. We've got to take another commercial break and hear from our sponsors, but we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Stay with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jacalyn. Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents A Better You. And here to tell us more is the creator of A Better You, Al Cini. Al, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. It's always a pleasure working with you and everyone out there. You might be a coach working with individuals professionally or personally, or you might be a consultant working with businesses, or you might be a trusted advisor specializing in an area like finance, let's say, or the law or healthcare. Whatever of those roles you relate to, you all have one thing in common, and that is you're working every day to help people become better versions of themselves, a better you. And Dr. Jacalyn's A Better You program is an opportunity for you to express your expertise in a particular area for 15 minutes in front of an audience of people who are looking for help from people like you.
Yep.
So, Dr. Jacalyn, maybe you can tell everybody how they can learn more about this.
It's so easy. You go to abetteryou.tv and you sign up to book your session.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hi, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck here, and guess who's rapping with me today on this beautiful Friday? It's pet psychic Aminah and Reverend Doti Boon. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So Doti, tell us a little bit about your trajectory as far as things you've heard. What I love that I think our audience will really get a kick out of is your museum, shall I say, going to boats and places where people have passed, and they're a little more crowded than what tickets they sold.
Right. Well, but there's so many different places that I go. And sometimes I forget that I have this ability to talk to people who passed away. And I find myself in situations where I go, how did I get here? Like going to Little Bighorn. It sounded like a good thing to do at the time. And then when I get there, I'm hearing horses, and I'm hearing Native Americans, I'm hearing soldiers, and I'm hearing yelling and screaming. And I thought, so I had to go and just go and sit in the car and get real calmed down because it was so overwhelming. The other one was when we went to the USS Arizona in Pearl Harbor.
Thank you.
And I got on the boat, and there again, didn't realize where I was. I thought it was just like a tourist thing. And all of a sudden, all these men started talking to me. And it was interesting because they gave me their name, their rank, and their serial number. And so I would say this, and my husband was on this boat with me, and he'd look at this wall and he'd see their name. I couldn't see the name, but he'd say, yep, he's there. Yep, he's there. And I had about 30 guys talking to me because they were so excited that they could talk to somebody who could hear them. And I said, you want to leave? And everybody said, yes. And I said, okay, I want you to see the light. And everybody screamed. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've got over 1,200 men screaming no, because they were in an explosion. So the last thing they saw was this horrible light. And I went, this isn't going to work. Okay, now I want each one of you to calm down and then just visualize some angelic presence coming to take you away. And all of a sudden you could just kind of hear this whoosh, and they all left. So I have these types of experiences of going somewhere where I forget what's going to happen. And all of a sudden I'm overcome by something like at Stonehenge and Avebury and all of these different places. I take tours around the world for looking for spiritual sites. But quite often I'm, taking people and guiding them to these places, and I don't ground myself as much as I should. So I'm hearing from different people at different places. It's very interesting work.
Now, elaborate one thing that I remember from it must have been one of your first talks. That's why it's resonated all these years for me. Is that the tour company or the docents or somebody like that, you said, came up to you and said, stop getting rid of the ghosts. It's a feature. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't. I think you're talking about the Queen Mary.
Yes, it was a boat. That's all I remember. Is it was a boat. I think it's the one in LA. But how often does somebody go up to somebody and say, "Would you please leave because you are really ruining the the experience
to the light," And they're saying, "Oh no, that's part of we like people to come and get scared by the."
How many times does a tour guide do that to you? One of your guests, like, no, you leave. You're ruining.
I have a question for both of you. So, as a coach, what I found is that most of the coaches I've met, everyone wants to support each other. So, I would say the coaching community is really about lifting each other up and being able to share what you learn with others. And obviously, in the work that you do, you're also coaches. But as psychics, how does that community work? Do you see each other as not you two, but in general, is it competitors?
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, I have people that do readings at a local bookstore, and I'll have somebody come and say, "Oh, so-and-so recommended me from," and this is called East West Bookstore. And okay. And I have kind of a special slant on things because my guide is so specific. And somebody, yesterday I was doing reading and a person says, when's a good time for me to move? And where should I go? And so my guide gave them a time that would be best for them and where they should go, and says, you really don't like the ocean. Why do you want to go to the ocean? You like the trees and the mountains and so much better. And they go, yeah, but it snows in the trees. And I said, well, no, not all areas that have trees does it snow. And so start looking at something in Northern California. And they go, there's trees in Northern California. I mean, it's that
beautiful trees.
Beautiful trees. You know, you heard of the redwoods? But
yeah.
It's interesting, the questions that people ask a psychic, because I would think people would be asking, when's the pandemic over and what's the economy going to do? And they're still asking questions of, when do I meet the person in my life? When am I ever going to get another job? Should I take a class in such? They're still the same questions that I was answering in 1985.
Yeah, people don't change. They really don't change. Right. My client yesterday, again, she's got 5 cats in 5 rooms because they can't get along. So you're going to talk to them where they're at. And that's what Doti's talking about. And sometimes we're like, what? and I always tell them, you have free will. You have the ability to take advice or not. You go to a PhD, you go to a psychologist, you go to a coach. I want to learn to play tennis. Well, I don't like the way you play tennis. My dad taught tennis a certain way. He hated getting kids from, what did they call them? Pro athlete trainer people. They have names. I don't know what it is right now. But you go, why did they do that? And he had a reason why he said, no, you can't do a backhanded swing with 2 hands. It only goes this far because that's 2 hands. The ball is over there. So he's like, no, that, again, everybody has a technique. There's millions of types of psychics, and we all resonate with a certain type of people. Are we for everybody? No, of course not. You need to find one that works for you. And what I love is the Center for Creative Living also has a lot of plethora of choices. We all don't do the same things. There's crystal readers I know nothing about. There's tarot readers I don't know hardly anything about. All of these things, Doti, can you start at the top and say, okay, I have this question. Who would you recommend? We also have people that cut hair and do Reiki and all these other amazing things. And then we have just regular people who just do regular people.
We teach Reiki and teach numerology and teach astrology and teach, all of those different ways of looking at life. And each one of those ways, there's something there that's going, if that's what you're interested in, that's going to help you move forward. I think that's the most biggest thing that we do at CCL is help people move forwards when they're stuck in the guck and feel like I can't go anywhere because I'm stuck, because I'm no good, or, so many people come and say to me, my mother said I'd never amount to anything. And I said, why do you want to make your mother right?
There you go.
And they go, well, but she said, well, let's say, no, Mom, that's not right for me. Right. And work with it, and bring in that spiritual essence of who you are, that's going to always tell you positive things about yourself.
And surround yourself with those people. And the people that I am bringing on the show is like Doti are those people that I surround myself with. And Dr. Jacalyn, I think why our 15 minutes of hello win an entire hour, because we really, you're not only a pet owner, but you're a woman that has a lifestyle of working hard and working genuine. So we resonated on those markers, and why I'm here today on these Fridays with you. I think they're the shining moment of my week. It's just fun to look forward to. I love to share people that I have gained so much knowledge, like Doti, and she's been there as a support and all of that type of stuff. I have trouble. I go, oh, who do I ask? Okay, let's see. Who from CCL do I call? Because there's a plethora of people that have different talents. And actually I'm working with one of the women this afternoon with Janet Childs, and we're working on a project and that kind of stuff. And I met her through these change. And what I want people to go away with is, if you haven't found your tribe, even if it's one tribe member, keep looking. There's a plethora of things, and now everything's online. I really stress, don't think that you have to do it because your mom, dad, sister, brother, kids, husband said, oh, this is the only way to do it. We have a family member who's only a PhD. That's the only thing you qualify. Everybody will respect you. You get any job. Oh, not really, because nobody can afford you. And that kind of stuff. Take your own path. Find your own path, and then and in that process, surround yourself with people that love you, help you, and teach you.
Right.
Amen to that.
And that want to help you grow. A lot of times I see people that say, oh, you can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. And don't believe that. You can do anything you put your mind to. And that's one of the things, too, with the Center for Creative Living. We're not just a church. We're also a center. Corky Whitaker, Reverend Corky Whitaker, is even a therapist. And she helps people get out of the guck. Okay, you mentioned our wonderful Reverend Dr. Janet Childs, and she's a grief counselor and does wonderful work helping people through the grief process. We have people in our center that teach Aikido and do healing, releasement technique. We have people that do so many different things at the Center for Creative Living. So as I said, we're also a working center. And right now, most of the people are not going in, but we have people, when you go on our website, Center for Creative Living, we're in San Jose, California, and check out all the things that are available, because I just love all the people we have and the things that they do and work with. And almost all of them are into the energy of the spirit. So not just the physical body, but also the spiritual body and what's going on there. And if you're interested at all and you want to become a minister, you can also find the way that you could move forward into your ministry. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about when we were talking about the psychic side of it, after I had been doing readings since I was very, very young, and about 20 years ago, I was working on the computer and I was checking out somebody, and I thought, I'm going to check out Mahalalel, because, you can check out anybody, find out what's going on. So I went online and put in Mahalalel, and I found out that my spirit guide was Adam's grandson. Talk about being wild about that. And I said to Ma, you were Adam's grandson. And he said, well, I'm more proud of being Methuselah's great-grandfather. And I just, everybody's more proud of the kids they had, not wherever they came from, And I was so amazed. I wanted to put a big banner out. Guess who Ma is, I had been listening to him since, 1940. And all of a sudden, I find this out about the guy. He certainly doesn't brag about himself. Every once in a while, somebody said to me, well, does Ma know who Baba G is? And I said, Ma, do you know who Baba G is? And he said, if you knew Baba G, you know me. That's just one of those profound things that you're not too sure what it means, but it sounds pretty good.
Or I'm too terrified to ask.
Yes, I know, but it's very interesting when you have a guide that works through you, because it helps other people. Because one day a lady called me and she said, do you remember? I said, wait, I was talking to my guide and I said, how come don't I remember what I tell people? And he said, Dottie, just think of yourself as a Teflon-lined funnel. Isn't that great?
I had not thought about it that way. I just figured, could you imagine how crowded our brains would be? Because people say, oh, remember you told me this? And sometimes I go, uh-huh. because it's too much information. Now, for me, being an empath, I remember the feeling. I remember the hate, joy, the strong feelings. So if there's a tragedy and or a great thing going on, I feel that and can remember that longer than I can the details. And Dottie's nodding, so you must be the same thing. So I can remember the big strokes. But could you imagine if I remembered, like, for example, the client I talked to yesterday, all 5 of her cats, each name, each personality? Oh, come on, give me a break. I got to name the 2 I got at home.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting because this is their life that they're putting in your hands when they come in for a reading. So, of course, it's very important, and they're sure that theirs is the most exciting life that you have ever read, and so I thought, well, how do I explain this? And when Ma said a Teflon lined funnel, I just cracked up.
It's a good analogy. One question that I have before the end of the show is, and at CCL Dottie, I'm imagining at some point you were the brand ambassador. It sounds like you still are, but yet you're surrounding yourselves with other tribes members, so to speak. Is that accurate?
Well, I'm the pastor, and
right.
Pastor means, the head of it, but I'm the founder of it. So this CCL is pretty unique, and there's a lot of spiritualist churches, and this one is pretty unique. You can see it when you come in. That is exactly what Aminah is saying with the diversity. It's so diversified. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So my question really is, and it pertains to you, Aminah, and to me as well, because someone said to me the other day, remember, there's a difference between who you are and the brand. Even though you are the brand, you have to be able to differentiate. And that is, that's kind of an interesting thought. So, Aminah, what do you think of it?
Yeah. We've all met somebody who thinks they are the big V in their world because that's their brand or whatever it is. And it's like, we are more than that. We are people. And I know the only quantification I give people is I can tell you what I see right now. I can tell you what you've asked right now. I can't feed your mind. I can't change your path or anything because you have free will. I had free will to walk in the door and find CCL. I have free will to be here every Friday as happy as a clam. It makes my whole week, I'll tell you. And I have free will to say, okay, I'll take that advice or I won't. None of us, at least the ones I have heard, and I know working directly with Dottie and personally having talked to so many of them, is we all will make recommendations either strongly or just, hey, do it if you want. You still have the choice because that's what your life is about, is making choices and then living those choices, whatever they are. You choose to go and walk across the railroad track and not take the bridge. And when train hits you, you go, wow, how'd that happen? Let's see. Choice 1, choice 2, choice 3. You were deaf, you couldn't hear the train, whatever. But you need to own those choices, knowing you have free will. You have the ability to say no or yes or what you want to do. And we empower you to just maybe thinking outside the box because of our education, because of our life experience, and because of our guides saying, you might want to try this, you might want to try that. But you do have the choice.
But and when you were talking about brand, CCL is its own brand because we have so many fantastic people there. We have a woman who was raised Jewish. She's going to be talking about Passover. We have all these different people who come in with their own sense of who they are and blend it in. It's like this huge salad that we make every Sunday of all these different pieces and all these different, somebody over here is a piece of romaine and somebody is a tomato. It's just this huge salad bowl of people. And that's CCL. I'm just kind of the dressing that goes over the salad. And
She's the conductor. Don't go dressing. No. You're the conductor. You've got the stick. We'll all get funked if we, really get out of line. Never happens.
I haven't thunked anybody in a while.
But you're not seeing Dottie standing. You're 6'2", 905 inches. She's so tall. So funking would be easy on some of us shorter people. But I just feel really blessed to have a platform. I know one year I talked about Ramadan, and like Janet was really into it because of her background. And we talked about fasting and talked about the health of fasting and talked about this. It's just literally moving everybody forward educationally, and then not making any edicts and saying, I have the only way. I have the only path. And that's what Dottie is, truly the conductor of just orchestrating and inviting everybody in and saying, we'd like to hear your voice. And it doesn't mean you have to be a professional speaker or any of that kind of stuff. And sometimes it's on the fly. And I can't wait till you get to hear Joyce C. Brown is coming later in the month.
Joyce C. Brown is coming here. She spoke at CCL last Sunday.
I know. She was wonderful. She was wonderful. So we've got a plethora. Sean Emler is next week, and he is a shaman. And he is just, again, you're going to really get the layers of this. So I have some business people coming on this, but we do have a lot of really intuitives and other things. And these people I met through the Center for Creative Living. And now you can do it sneakily on the computer. Come and visit.
Well, you can also check out all of the videos, because we've been videotaping, well, we've been doing it virtually, particularly. We've been videotaping the entire I want to say performance, but it's
good. Call it a performance. Sometimes it's knocking chairs down and talking to other people, but and Corky's been posting those live since even when we were doing them. She'd been filming live because we have people that aren't able to come and leave their home, and this includes all of them, or they moved out of the state. And that kind of stuff. So luckily, we've had the means to do all of that for a long time, and making the switch was just
talk about logistics. A long time. We have over 800 videos.
Oh wow!
Oh my gosh, that is a lot. Wow. That's good for you.
We really been putting those out, and thank you to the Reverend Corky Whitaker.
Absolutely.
She's the one who knows all about the computer. I came along when there was crystal sets, for radio. I keep trying to adapt as things change so rapidly, but she keeps up with it. And so
we'll send you a homing pigeon next time. You'll go, I know that.
Oh my gosh. Well, ladies, we are at the top of the show already, which I can't believe. But Reverend Dottie, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you, those who are listening on the radio as well as those watching?
Well, we have streaming here. My phone number is 408-220-5780. And I would love to talk to people. If you have any questions, fine. If you want a reading, it's $75 for a half an hour and $125 for an hour. And I would love to meet people. As I said, I have clients all over the world. And for me, being able to help people learn how to help themselves is one of the greatest gifts I have.
Perfect.
And I think soon you'll be able to find Reverend Dottie and Reverend Corky and Aminah on Clubhouse. Something is telling me that.
I think that is a slight hint that we're signing up for something, Dottie. And that means Corky, who's off camera right now and doing all the digital, Corky's listening. And Corky, guess what? You have another job.
Yes. Corky, we're going to do Clubhouse. Okay.
Yes, I'm excited. So thank you again, Reverend Dottie Boon, for being here with us today. And I'll look forward to future collaborations. It sounds like Clubhouse might be the next step.
Well, and I'm trying to talk her into, if I stay with you, we're looking at that. We're talking about with Dr. Jacalyn is maybe having Dottie back every once a month.
Absolutely.
Because it is just so much fun. Yeah.
Aminah is the one who put this together for me, and I want to thank her very much. It's been delightful working with her.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you again.
You surround yourself with all this goodness. How can it not be? And that includes you, Dr. Jacalyn. Sorry.
Thank you.
I didn't want to lose that assumption. Wait a minute. She might not know that I mean her too.
No.
Yes. No.
So thank you, Dottie. We'll see you backstage in just a moment. It's been a pleasure. And Aminah, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
bridgingworlds.us. That is the best way because it will answer a million questions. How much do I charge? How to make an appointment? What are other things I do? Do you want to come to Meetup and hear us talk? It's just Meetup is very just fun, just a fun thing. All of that is a way to do this kind of stuff. I do a lot of these talks and I love them and that type of stuff. So come join me, call me if you want a reading. It's really easy. I do try to get people in within 24 hours. It just depends on my schedule.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you backstage in just a moment.
Absolutely.
And thank you to our Friday Pet Psychic friends. It's been great to have you here. We've got another show coming up in half an hour, and this is Stories of Hope, Inspiration, Overcoming Adversity with Marty DeFonce. And then at 6 o'clock, we have the Variety Show with my co-host, Lori Mendelson, and her guest, Julie Feldman. So we look forward to seeing you then. And we hope that you'll take an interest in being on our platform, A Better You. Lessons from the best coaches, consultants, and trusted advisors. You have the opportunity to present a 15-minute lesson, and that lesson will then be edited. We'll ask you as a content creator to put together a 5-question quiz, and then we can talk about putting it up on A Better You University. So look forward to that. You can book your session at rappingwithdrjacalyn.com. Thanks so much. We'll look forward to seeing you in half an hour. Bye.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's just going to be okay.